Well, thank you everybody for joining
Aaron,
us.
I think we forgot PM.
Oh, PM, yes, of course.
Oh, I thought we were going to do it after. Okay. I'm sorry, PM. Again, it is my privilege to introduce Sam Hinds. The Honorable Samuel Hinds is a Guyanese chemical engineer, veteran statesman, and diplomat. He served as Guyana's prime minister from 1992 to 2015, making him the country's longest serving prime minister, and briefly served as president in 1997. Since 2021, he has served as Guyana's ambassador to the United States. Born Guyanese, the Honorable Sam Hinds studied chemical engineering in the United States before beginning his career in the bauxite industry. He entered public service in 1992, serving under President Cheddi Jagan following Guyana's first known free and fair elections in decades. In 1997, he also served as president of Guyana before resuming his role as prime minister under Presidents Janet Jagan, Bharat Jagdeo, and Donald Ramostar. In recognition of his outstanding service to Guyana, he was awarded the Order of Excellence, the nation's highest honor. He is also a member of the Rotary Club of All Nations, reflecting his continued commitment to public service and international fellowship. Welcome, Ambassador Hinds.
Dr. Sharma, all yours.
Thank you very much, Mark, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, Mrs. Vasconcelos. I recognize Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Sam Hinds, His Excellency, and our District Governor. We recognize you, and thank you, everyone, for joining today as we reflect on this journey of Barima and what it means to us, and how can we learn from honoring the memories of those who we lost. Today is August the 1st. It's a special day. It's Emancipation Day. So I wish, on behalf of Rotary All Nations and the International Institute of Geopsychiatry, best wishes to every one of us as we celebrate and honor the memories of those involving emancipation. And August the 1st also is a very special day in the history of maritime disasters in the Caribbean. But I'll leave that as a bit of a mystery for now, because I'm pretty sure not many people know about that tragedy, which actually mirrors the Barima tragedy in many ways. So as we all know, on the July 18th, tragedy hit Guyana with the ferry capsizing just off the coast of the Pomeranian region, and the report from the BBC was that a huge wave hit the ship, which caused it to capsize, and it sank within about 4 minutes. And as you can see from this slide, it shows the point where the ship sank. It was about 8 miles, about 11 kilometers off the Pomeranian coast, at a point called the Iron Point, which is a very turbulent region. There are 2 points, as you can see lower down. There is the Essequibo mouth, which is also very turbulent. So when we cross that, we survive that piece. We have to go to the Iron Point and then survive that piece, and then get into the river to go to Port Kaituma, which is in the northwest. So we may ask, why do persons take this difficult journey? Well, this is the region, so it's not an easy journey to go by land. It's virtually impossible. There are no possibilities of building roads. It's swamp, of wilderness, forest, and rivers, many, many rivers here. So it is a dangerous trek across the Atlantic Ocean. So we really have to give credit to those who have the courage to be doing this, going for their cargo all the way from the Kingston Wharf. The response was very positive when the tragedy was heard. Our neighbors, we had coast vessels from Trinidad, we had Suriname responding, and we had a frigate coming down from Brazil, as you can see out in the ocean. naval frigate came down, and then our French divers came down, and they went on to the ship, which was found by Mr. Hari Singh, a fisherman captain in that region. So it was given him credit. The French divers found the vessel. They could be able to locate it on the floor, but they could not enter or rescue persons or pull persons out because of the ropes and the hammocks that were there. And it would have been a dangerous mission. We saw what happened in the Maldives when the diver went in to rescue those divers who were lost there and ended up dying. So thankfully, we did not lose any of our French divers, and we give them credit and honor for what they did for us. The emotional reactions were mostly about grief, and as you know, grief contains several phases, and we were seeing two very prominent phases. That was grief, with many videos of survivors talking about the loss, very, very, very emotional videos. I didn't post any of these because I didn't have permission, and I think we really have to respect people's privacy. There's also a lot of frustration and anger being voiced in the media about information that was changed. Initially, it was 115 persons lost, and then they had to be corrected when the persons realized that the manifest was not correct in terms of the number of persons on board, and there are probably about 100 extra persons there. Sadly, there's a lot of exploitation of the grief and the tragedy for different reasons. And really, that should not be the case at this time. It's a time where we should reflect and let the Commission of Inquiry do the job. So there's a lot of speculation, and just to touch on some of those, that the ship was ancient, it could not do the trip, but this is a ship that was doing the trip in its ancient ways for many years. It was reported to be dry docked in 2024. There were reports that it was overloaded and taken in water, but the ship actually went for about 5 hours of a journey crossing the Skibber mouth and going down at the dangerous point of the Iron Punt, where the waves can be very, very huge. There was a report of the crew and the captain using drugs, and that was truly unfortunate. Also, good that the testing was done for determining that problem. So, consistently, we heard from many persons that the ship was hit by a huge wave, and the Commission of Inquiry will tell us whether there was human error or whether there is faults in the vessel and so on. But what we know is that marijuana was implicated, and I just want to mention very quickly that persons, many people use marijuana, they go driving, and really it's not considered a drug that's very dangerous in terms of violence and so on, but it is dangerous when it comes to navigation. It's extremely dangerous. And persons who drive, persons involved in the navigation system or pilots, must be tested. They should not use this drug because it distorts the navigational system in our brains. It distorts time, space, orientation, and truly is being implicated in many disasters. Amtrak disaster, go back in the time, and many other disasters linked to marijuana use, because people think it's a soft drug, it just calms you down and takes away anxiety. Yes, it does all that, but it's not for navigation, not for the pilots. There was a plane that crashed in Dominica, and the pilot was found to have marijuana in his system. Everybody died on that plane. In terms of the response, we saw that Brigadier Phillips, who was the Prime Minister, set up a command center, and that was done very quickly, and the response was very rewarded to see the Ministry of Health and Human Services there, counseling persons were there, doctors, nurses, all went out to be part of the rescue and support. As I mentioned, Mr. Singh, Narayan, and Harish, when his crew found the Barima, so we must give them credit for that. It's not a difficult spot. It's a difficult spot to have located that ship, but they did it. So their experience was there. The president showed enormous empathy and compassion, and we must spare a thought for him and ministers who were involved because they've been there nonstop. The Minister of Public Works, who was getting a lot of stress from the public, was there from the night and is consistently there when things are being reported. We want to credit Minister Vinay Prasad. Her counselors across the country have been doing work on the ground, often not recognized. And it's amazing what they do. They are on the ground. There were unfortunately no reports that I heard of counseling services for persons who are involved in the rescue, the first responders, including the doctors and nurses, and also counselors and other personnel, including the divers. So I do hope that this is done, but it's a difficult process because this requires specialized persons. We may not have that expertise, but it's important for those persons to also be protected from fallout of emotional trauma. While all the grief was going on, we heard stories of tremendous resilience and courage. A 9-year-old girl who was able to save a 13-year-old girl who could not swim. And the video was there of a young mother whose child was snatched away, but she held on to the baby but couldn't swim. And a man gave her his floating vinyl, and in doing so, he drowned right in front of her. And then, of course, our French divers give them tremendous kudos for what they've done for us. I just want to touch on the social media reports, and really I want us this today to come out of our comfort zone and think about things that are going to affect our children, our grandchildren. The future is being affected by significant negativity that comes from social media. Why social media is wonderful, and it allows sharing, which we're doing today. That misinformation is a tragedy in itself. And the posts of hate messages, harmful messages. This one is posted that has nothing to do with the Barima. And this one was a news article, can't tell you who did it, but to me, it was not right for the author to say words that put the Barima in such a bad light and reflected poorly on the government, that it shows contempt for the people. No, that's not true. Indigenous people are greatly recognized and honored in Guyana. So this is not right. And this is not the way to honor this vessel, which has served Guyana for so many years. It was faulted at this time, but that's the way life goes. For all the years of service, all that is forgotten in one moment because of a loss. And yet blame it on ancient. Ancient is not necessarily bad. The MV Christina, which sank off the coast of Nevis, St. Kitts, was actually only 11 years in operation, and Air Force One, as we know, is 36 years old, which is ancient for a plane, would we say that? But it's considered very, very secure. So that's a beautiful Barima. I want to credit Annette Arjun for this post, where she says, "I could not help feeling so very grateful for the tremendous service of these old faithful vessels. And pity that we don't know much of the history of these vessels, and truly it's hard to find. So we do honor our vessels. Some are still in operation, and we really recognize our Barima." So coming back to the media posts, which I find are ongoing and containing malicious and offensive posts. There is one of a video of a threat to the vice president, which is too horrible to even post or even to look at. And if you see that, just delete it. And the persons who post these things should be reprimanded. There was a report of a survivor saying that he did not receive counseling, and the minister herself, Dr. Prasad, had to intervene and say that was not correct. So false narratives can generate a lot of negativity in our country, make our people divided. And sometimes people just carry these messages down the road as if it's truth. And it's very hard to change it once it's stuck into people's brain. So the harm is being done, and really these insightful, hateful reports and bulletins that are posted should stop. And when there's misinformation, apology should be made very public. We can actually have AI, which is doing good and bad, do fact checking, and stop these posts if we can do that. But I really would urge that we should have quality control in every agency and system with accountability in every system. Now, you see that a lot in the private systems, but in a public service system, it should also be inbuilt, and an ongoing process where we can see reports. The public can see audit reports from all services, from health, social services, public service, and so on. I do want to mention some good reporting agencies. The newsroom I found to be very credible. iNews and Department of Public Information. When I look at those, you really find anything that's of misinformation. And as you can see, they've just reported on the captain and some crew members being arrested. And they're also now reported on the protests. So they do give a very objective view of what is happening on the ground. So kudos to them. There are others, I'm sorry if I'm not mentioning everybody who is doing good work, but there are plenty, but it's a short presentation, so we do recognize everyone for posting well. Please, we have a sense of responsibility to our children, to our nation, for not posting disgusting, awful images. So the emotional toll we know on the nation is already happening. We all share in the grief, and as we reflect today, we want to ensure that we come out of our comfort zone and think about what we can do in our own life to prevent further tragedy and to prevent the emotional fallout. One of the worst things that can happen after a disaster is persons having post-traumatic stress, and you could see up to 30 to 40% of survivors can suffer with post-traumatic stress, and up to 30% of rescue workers, the first responders, including counselors and doctors, are often vulnerable to post-traumatic stress also. So we really need to have trained personnel who can manage these individuals and provide specialized treatment like TFCPT, which is traumatic focus, trauma focus, cognitive behavior therapy, along with other specialized types of therapy, because you don't want our people starting to experience the complications of post-traumatic stress, which are alcohol use, abuse of substances, depression, survivor guilt, suicide, which is also very high in Guyana. So we really need to work to prevent these emotional problems from occurring in persons who are vulnerable. Both the persons who are directly affected are vulnerable, and the persons who help or care and respond are also vulnerable. And the treatment and care are much different, because what is done for first responder is not the same as that is done for persons who have survived, victims of the disaster that made it through. And we know that this study here is very interesting. This paper actually covers about 200 and something maritime disasters, so they know what they're talking about. And one of the findings was that actually just the initial counseling effort is not good enough, because still many persons go on to suffer post-traumatic stress despite initial intervention. So we can now rest, and I see that the process of healing, there's ongoing support and counseling, and give credit to Human Services, the government, and the President has just started a HEART initiative, which talks about ongoing support for persons who are affected by the disaster. And persons who are affected are not only people who are directly involved, there's also secondary persons, people who watch at these disasters, children who are exposed without the parents sort of limiting what they see, also can be significantly affected. We know that there is a period of national mourning that was declared 3 days, and it was wonderful to see across Guyana. This is just a few pictures of some of the posts that I saw, and these were of the diaspora, which also responded with prayer and vigils. Respondents from New Jersey, and there's one from the New York Consulate in New York, Interfaith Vigil in the High Commission of London, and also the schools right across Guyana. So not just one school, but I took a post from the Camille's Academy, and the children formed the MVB. They did it also in the night with candlelight vigils forming the MVB in honor of the Barima. Our persons from the Northwest and the indigenous people, they did break their own silence, but they were having a conference at the Artichoke Center, as you see there, and the tragedy affected the conference, but they did come out and they did give the government credit for the response that they made, which is truly quite proper and well in order. So from that side, I can't see any fault. And I've been a person involved in disaster training across the Caribbean, so I could be allowed to share that. But this was the annual National Tushao conference where the report from the Kaicho News said that they were positive about the response we've done. So we need to move forward without anger and negativity and stop the negative rhetoric, wait for the COI to give its results and findings. Compensation, of course, will help, but will never be enough. Finance can't solve the issues. It's emotional support and care, understanding. If there are mistakes, people should accept and seek forgiveness and seek atonement. And these things will help with healing. We must ensure safety programs and drug testing and life jackets are there on the ship or going across that dangerous terrain. Persons were not wearing life jackets. That's not acceptable. We need to educate about the dangers of drugs like marijuana, but people don't think it's just a light drug to use. Alcohol, of course, it's a no-no again in navigation. So both are not acceptable. I'm not sure we actually do testing for marijuana with people involved in accidents. So this was very creditable that it was done. Accountability is the way forward. I believe memorials do have a valuable place, and here is the one for the Christina, which I mentioned. The date, as you could see, when the Christina went down was the 1st of August, Emancipation Day, which was a holiday, and it was clearly overloaded because it had a capacity of 155, but there were about 322 persons on board. When it sank, it was a tragedy for the nations of St. Kitts and Nevis, and they did put up a memorial to honor the 233 persons who were lost and who are still in the ship at the bottom of the sea. So that's a memorial to the persons, to the Christina. And for those of you who would know, Christina was actually built in Guyana. And that was a journey that it took from St. Kitts to Nevis, with going down somewhere in the middle between the two islands. And apparently the ocean was also a factor because of the waves and the fact that the ballast was not right. So they did have a very good commission of inquiry, which was public, and I do urge that our commission of inquiry should also be public. So nothing is hidden, transparency is there. I unfortunately feel that the future of our world is in a grim, troublesome state. Currently, we see disasters all over the world. There's some man-made ones with wars. It should not be happening in this modern world. Humans are killing each other. We see disasters that are natural. The earthquake just now in Japan. We had one in Venezuela with 4,000 lives lost. Fires in Spain and France with displacement of over 250,000 people. And disasters will happen. The whole climate is boiling up. And one of the goals of the Geopsychiatry Institute is to look at climate change. So we look to the future where better vessels will be there. We see the MV Licia, which is sitting next to the Barima, which is on the right.
Thanks, Doc.
Yes, and we're about to close with just some very positive messages that our sportsmen have responded. We have Robin Powell started the ball rolling, and he's from Jamaica. And I close with best wishes to all of us. And we also wish our candidate for the United Nations Secretary General, who's from Guyana, the very best, Caroline Rodriguez Burkett. And she is actually from Region 1, Barima. She's doing pretty good. in the
Thank you,
process.
Dr. Sharma.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for being here.
And Ambassador Hinds, all yours for the remarks, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I too want to thank Dr. Dave Sharma for that presentation, which was clear, concise, comprehensive. And I would suggest, if it isn't going to happen, that many of our people in Guyana share it. I think all of our government departments and government offices and our TV stations and so on, I think I found it very satisfying to me also. I don't think there's any more I could say to what Dr. Sharma has just presented. Of course, all of this comes on the background of Guyana finding oil and having that increased flow of income and all the considerations about whether we will save ourselves from the curse, the curse of the Dutch disease. I think it's a time for us to reflect in Guyana and to do better to avoid the Dutch disease. So let's hope that we can get some in our grief and concern for all those who have suffered. Maybe we can find a reason to all of us Guyanese to do even better at whatever we do. I know the president used to speak about uplifting each other, loving each other in Guyana, and maybe we should emphasize that we can best love and uphold each other by doing well, by going all out to do well whatever jobs we have. So people who might take recreational marijuana when you're on the job, you just don't do it. That sort of thing. So I want to thank you, Mark, and I want to commend this group